An international coral reef symposium is being held in Cairns this week. Scientists from more than 80 countries are discussing ways to protect the world's reefs.
Well, today's topic looks at the effect of climate change. ABC Environment reporter Connor Duffy spoke with the director of the Global Change Institute at the University of Queensland ahead of today's discussions.
Today's theme at the International Coral Reef Symposium is going to be ocean acidification, winners and losers. And to discuss this, we're joined by one of the world's leading experts on the impact of global warming on coral reefs, Ove Hoegh-Guldberg. Ove, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Connor.
Ove, just to start with, in the simplest possible terms, what is ocean acidification?
Ocean acidification is a consequence of carbon dioxide increasing its concentration in the atmosphere, and this is from the burning of fossil fuels and land use change. But that carbon dioxide doesn't just stay in the atmosphere, and a lot of it is going into the ocean. When it goes into the ocean, it reacts with water, it changes the chemistry, and part of that chemistry is that it becomes more acidic, and that has consequences for marine life.
So in terms of marine life, what will be the winners and what will be the losers?
Well, in the short term, there are differences between organisms like corals in their sensitivity to ocean acidification. Some are affected a lot, other ones are not. And so what we expect to see in the coming decades is some corals doing better and others doing perhaps worse. And that probably goes for a lot of other organisms as well. But in the long term, because we're pushing conditions well beyond those we've seen for the last million, possibly 40 million years, it's likely that organisms like cyanobacteria, which is a slimy green thing that goes over rocks, that may be ultimately the winner.
It's not all gloomy though, is it? Surely some species are going to adapt to this and perhaps even thrive under the conditions.
On the issue of adaptation, the jury's out. What we do know is that things are changing more rapidly than they've changed in the past, much faster. Phenomenal rates of change compared to even an ice age transition. And so this is really testing long-lived organisms like corals to be able to rapidly adapt. And in fact, most scientists are now feeling that there are big questions about whether biology will keep up.
Ove, there's reports of coral forming at ever higher latitudes as the oceans get warmer, and you've even dived some of these new reefs yourself. Won't this forming of coral replace the loss of some of the old habitats?
Well, there's no question that some organisms, as higher latitudes are warming, are now being able to sort of penetrate those. And so there are reports from Japan, for example, of corals being found much more north of where they have been in the past. But the important issue here is that a single coral arriving on a reef at a high latitude is not the same as a coral reef with all the ecosystem services that humans depend on arriving. The chance that reefs will establish is really a big open question. And I think it's put into sharp relief when you consider how fast the Great Barrier Reef would have to move to higher latitudes if it's to keep up with climate change. And that number, which is essentially moving from the north to the south of the Great Barrier Reef, is between 15 and 20 kilometres per year. Now, we've not seen that. And it's certainly a tall order to think of all those corals, all those fish suddenly moving at that phenomenal rate every year. So again, I think, with such an important issue, to hope that that would happen, I think maybe not the best thing.
Ove Hoegh-Guldberg, thanks very much for joining News Breakfast.
It's been a pleasure.